A meeting hosted by Kenya government officials in Nairobi recently focused on U.S.-Kenya relations in assistive technology to address inclusive education and employment opportunities for persons with disabilities. Among those in attendance from the U.S. Department of State was Sara Minkara, a special advisor on international disability rights, and she joins me here in studio. Sara, you're very welcome to Africa 54.
Esther, it's so wonderful to be with here today.
Great to hear. You are in Nairobi for this very important meeting.
Yes.
Let's start off with one of the issues that I saw you talk about was to invest in disability inclusive entrepreneurship. What's that about?
Yes, I mean, what we don't realize is that 16% of our population are persons with disability. It's a big size of our population. We are, as a community, we are individuals that contribute, that have value, that are entrepreneurial, that are innovative. How do we ensure that companies, investors look at the disability community and say, we want to make sure we're allowing for you the space for you to innovate and to create more opportunities for everyone else. And we actually visited Strathmore University that's actually focusing on disability inclusive entrepreneurship. And they have an iLab that's also focusing on disability tech. How do we take those models and bring it all over the world? Because we are a community that brings value to society.
You know, Sara, one of the things I learned when I came to the U.S. is that the people here with disabilities are given privileges of some sort, and I would say it's their right. You get the buses lowered down to wheel in somebody. You have designated parking spaces. If anybody like me goes to park there, I'm going to get a fine, and a huge fine for that matter. What would you like to see governments, especially in Africa, where we didn't see that kind of thing happening, to give equal opportunities to people with a disability?
I look at it from a point of how can we break down barriers in our society, in our system, to make sure that we as a disability community can access society at large. What are the accessibility barriers, whether that's infrastructure, communication, technological, information, and even narrative barriers. Right now, Kenya is digitizing its entire government services. How do we ensure as they're digitizing their services, accessibility is part of their framework? Because if it's not, it will leave us behind. It will further marginalize persons with disabilities. So we need to understand all the barriers that the disability community face, and the disability community is also diverse, right? I'm blind, someone else is deaf, someone else, you know. How do we really bring that forward as we're developing services? How do we do that? Let's make sure persons with disabilities and the disability civil society is at the table as we design, assess, and implement government policies.
And talking of civil societies, what did they tell you they want to see happening in Nairobi?
So a couple things. One, there is an amendment act to the disability policy that's been on the floor of Parliament for many years. How do we make sure that amendment act moves forward? It aligns to the Constitution and the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, but it needs to be adopted. The second, also there's a Kenya Sign Language bill on the floor that needs to be adopted and pushed forward. That bill allows for Kenya Sign Language to be an official language like any other language, for a mean of communication for everyone. Those are two important bills that need to be really addressed. And how do we ensure that OPDs, organizations of persons with disabilities, their voices are at the table when government are designing any policy as well?